All right, at 7:32 p.m., I call the Senate to order. Please, if you're pushing on your mic, please stop doing that. Will the clerk please take roll? Great. A quorum being present, we will proceed with the rest of the business agenda. Is there a motion with regard to the minutes?
Motion to adopt. Mr. Speaker, I move to reorder the agenda as follows. I move to reorder the reports of the officers of the Senate, the receipts of reports from officials, and receipt of petitions and messages to just prior to notices and announcements. I move to reorder unfinished business below special orders, and I move to add to the agenda at the top of special orders a motion to restore Senator Aurora's voting rights. The consideration of the restoration of Senator Aurora's voting rights.
Second.
I would like to withdraw this motion. So please, nobody motion to discharge. Thank you.
Motion to exclude Senator Hendricks from the certification. Per the code, he was more than 72 hours late in submitting his financial statement, and the Board of Elections was not within their purview to give that extension to him. Therefore, per the code, he is not allowed to be a sitting senator.
Second.
Opposed?
Speaker? At this time, I move that the Senate the Senate, owing to the Board of Elections having erroneously excluded Senator-elect Aurora from the official list of certified candidates, I do hereby move that Senator-elect Aurora be ordered seated in the 106th Senate. We should first consider the restoration of the voting rights of Senator Aurora.
I guess just giving like a background on this, Senator Aurora has had a pretty good attendance record as of late. There were a couple of missed meetings at the very beginning of the session, and then one missed meeting 2 meetings ago, which seemed to be one for everybody. I personally think that shows significant growth from the initial meetings, and the attendance plan that she provided me seemed to be relatively comprehensive. So it is my personal recommendation that we vote to restore these rights.
Yes, I was busy when I missed the meeting, and I'll make sure that I fill out the form from the future. Also, I'll make sure that it's included in my calendar, so I know when it's gonna happen and when it's not. Thank you.
If there is not, is there
I move to suspend the rules and restore Senator Aurora's voting rights without debate.
is there a second? And the rules allow Senator.
Point of information, I, Senator Wilson, am here. I was marked as out here.
Mr. Speaker, at this time, I move to reorder the agenda by moving the selection of a senior member of the Special Standing Committee on Ethics to immediately prior to notices and announcements. This will give me. I move to adopt both the minutes and January 30th by suspension of the rules.
Mr. Speaker, just a point of information, which I can't technically offer, but if I would be able to give my report to the Senate prior to the consideration of the Budget Act, I would appreciate
Mr. Speaker, I move to reorder the agenda by moving the report of the treasurer of the undergraduate student body following the two motions to discharge. Yes, this is a resolution. I move to discharge USR 105, 133 from O&A to the general orders calendar. I move to discharge USR 105-140 from O&A to general orders.
Is there a second?
Please don't get scared. I'll go quickly. Definitely, I'd take the under. I want to walk you through, this is my whole report, but like there's also specific items to contextualize the Budget Act that I would like to get through. But I'll also touch, I have transition planning. I have submitted my official transition guide to the Office of the Chief of the Cabinet. I am also working diligently on a larger corpus of advisory materials for future treasurers, how to do various processes as they exist now, thoughts on how you approach general issues, and then also, most importantly, like my thoughts on how we can best develop a long-term financial planning process. Then also transitional council, there are a few potential updates to the finance law that I've been talking about with other members of the transitional council, such as possibly only doing one budget the whole year, but I don't know, I'm trying to evaluate the feasibility of that, but that would be an item for the TC. Okay, so this is what I actually wanted to go through with y'all. I know most of you just weren't here at the last meetings, but if you were here, I would have told you that we couldn't do the budget then because there was a problem. And the problem was that the acting director of the Carolina Union Business Office sent me a statement on how much we had left to allocate out of the student organizations fee fund. And it was this amount lower than I thought it was going to be. And that was startling because that was most of it. It was like most of it that what I thought was there to allocate was not. So in the intervening 4-ish weeks, I have had a lot of meetings with a lot of different people to figure out what is going on. And I figured it out. So one, I based the FY24 financial plan on a beginning balance that was about $90,000, that didn't reflect about $90,000 in FY23 expenditures that left our account after July 1. So that was $90,000 of it. Then I figured out that the Union Business Office was counting stipends twice. So we actually included those in the allocation, but they also thought that it wasn't included in the allocation and they took it out separately. So that was about $50,000 of it. Then, and perhaps most intractably, there were about like $275,000 in revenues that I assumed would have come in by the end of January that had not. I had been told that like the cashier processed bills in January, and then by the end of January the money would be there. And it turns out that was wrong, and it kind of trickles in over the semester. If you're interested, I can separately show you the schedule for how it usually comes in. But we're expecting to receive by the end of the semester, like probably by the end of this month, really, like $275,000 in further funds. So we had this initial shortfall. The stipends double accounting was fake. So we have, or had, I should say, or have, and will shortly not have, a $365,000 shortfall, $366,000 shortfall, which is just these expenses and these revenues that haven't officially come in yet. But we do know these revenues are coming, so that's easy to fix, or we think these revenues are coming. So I have revised the financial plan as follows. First, I revised down what the beginning general reserve was to reflect FY23 payments. Actually, fee revenues went up a little. Like like actual fall fee revenue was a little bit higher than what we expected. So I'm using a naive estimate here and say it's the same. So yeah, so basically we're going to revise down the spring appropriations reserve. And Senator Fiore will be making an amendment to do that. So rather than, and I think the Finance Committee Chair can give you a precise number, it was like 420 beforehand. So it's going to be, they have mapped out about a 10% across the board cuts in the allocations that were passed out of Finance Committee. And we'll do about, and the amendment will do about a 10% cut. We also have, and this was not included in the original financial plan, a QSO deficit contribution that we're going to have to make. The QSO system does not have enough money to operate. It's about a $70,000 deficit. My expectation, based on initial conversations with the Joint Governance Council, is that undergraduate students will be on the hook for about $50,000 of that. And graduate students will take about $20,000 of it. And what that will come out to is less than $4,000, or about 0.25% of reserve plus revenue left in the account. If you recall, my original proposal was that be about $75,000 would be held in general reserve. So obviously that's a lot tighter, but that was for an emergency. I'm taking the QSO deficit and this as an emergency. The accounting gets a little bit more complicated because student government accounting isn't exactly the same as university accounting, and how the encumbrances work is a little bit different. But for the purposes of the Senate, this is the deal. So yeah, just in terms of walking you through what that means for the rest of the financial plan, Senator Fiore will offer one amendment to lower the, also as part of this, I don't think there is money to do subsequent appropriations at all. So I think that has to be elided. Congratulations, members of the Senate Finance Committee. So lowering that, and then a second amendment which will reduce the appropriation reserve and basically fit it to exactly what has been appropriated, and that will end subsequent. Then I will ask you to pass the Budget Act. It is a very uninteresting Budget Act. Pass the Stipends Act, that's on the consent calendar. And then looking forward, I will submit to the Senate an amended final FY24 financial plan based on these changes. And then before the end of the session, we're going to ask the 105th to pass a QSO funding supplemental. Yeah, just to talk quickly about the stipends bill, which is also coming up. I support this bill without amendments. There were some amendments in committees to provide stipend funds for summer honor system workers. I also issued a memorandum in which I say that probably in the long run, the Senate needs to be thinking about doing away with stipends. I think these, and is the amendment, that memorandum is going to be read, isn't it? So you'll hear about why from Speaker Carey in my words. So I think there were concerns in Finance Committee and during the O&A hearings, and it all kind of comes back around to these allocations are really difficult to, like with the regular allocations we make, it's pretty straightforward or it's pretty fungible how we're making them and how to apply these, like to apply a criterion. But because these are the same positions from the same organizations, it's really kind of complicated and difficult to objectively and fairly address how these allocations are being made. And that's pretty problematic. Like, for example, and this is not me at all like dinging on the Honor Corps, but there was a want, and a reasoned want to increase some of the stipends that were going to Honor Corps. And they like presented very like cogent reasons why people in the Honor Court, not the Honor Court, the Attorney General staff and also the Honor Court. There's very like worthwhile reasons, like, yeah, these people do work based on an official university function, but there's a variety of official university functions. So, and in the status quo, and I think this is what the side where the finance committee ultimately came out, not that I want to speak to that for them, like the student conduct delegated responsibility is getting almost half of all the stipends funds already. Whereas the trustee seat, so the student body president, the board of elections, that delegated responsibility is getting much less. The student fees, that's like me, the treasurer, the speaker, a little bit more, but still a lot, less than half of this. And then university appointments, just the vice president, that's a whole delegated responsibility being done by one person. So it's complicated to think about. If the Senate has debate, I encourage them to kind of think about this graph, because I think it's very helpful in understanding how the Senate is currently prioritizing these responsibilities. But yeah, so that's kind of where I've been on stipends. Happy to take questions on any of that. Do I get my money, Cal? Yeah. I'll take the over under and a stipend. All right, thanks.
I move by unanimous consent that Chapter 1, Article 2, Section 200, it's on page 7 of this document. No, this document was edited. Never mind. I don't know where it is. It's up. Yeah, that the Tar Heel Supremacy Act be amended to read, will always be superior to the Duke Blue Devils in all sports and other competitions in perpetuity. Speaker, at this time, I move that the bill be adopted by unanimous consent.
And I would hope this would be friendly. I move to amend the motion such that rather than moving the report from the undergraduate student attorney general above the consideration above USB 105 144, we insert an item above USB 105 144 that states report from the undergraduate student attorney general, because we shouldn't, if they want to speak on the bill, this shouldn't necessarily include like the usual report they give us. But honestly, actually, I just withdraw this. It's fine.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, to quell any concerns out there, this will not be quite as fiery as my speech within the finance committee was. But I do appreciate you guys all giving me the opportunity to speak. I do think it's fair as potentially the main objector to the stipend bill. I do appreciate the opportunity to be given a chance to explain like why that is. First of all, with regards to like whether or not we should have stipends at all, that I respect that point. I think that's a difference of philosophy. I personally do not believe in that, and you can all believe what you will on whether or not we should have stipends. But that seems to be like somewhat of a like for future conversation. Furthermore, I just wanted to say that because I wasn't given a chance to talk in the finance committee meeting, kind of like after the main debates had begun about it among the senators. I know there were some concerns about whether or not we should even have stipend review because that was proving to be contentious and non-fungible, as I believe Logan said earlier. First of all, I just want to say I completely disagree with that. The conversations on Sunday were very heated, and I expect them to be. But I also believe that's the point of this organization, is to be a forum of communication among everyone, and to like have those discussions about what exactly it is we should be doing. So just to mention those 2 points very quickly before I get into my opinions on this bill, I think those conversations are vital, even if they are uncomfortable for many. Coming from hearings in the honor system, I know that conversations are uncomfortable when people disagree very often. That does not mean that those are bad conversations. So I appreciate you guys letting me have those conversations on Sunday. And I do hope those conversations can continue in the future, even if they remain heated. And I think in some ways, if they remain heated, that is a beneficial part of it. And that is a sign that the system is working in some way. As Logan said in that committee meeting, that he hoped at the end everyone would be unhappy because that is a sign of a good compromise. And I think in some ways that's correct. So moving on to my opinions on the specific bill. First of all, just to mention like why exactly it is, I think stipends are an important part, and why I am objecting to several opinions from many of the committee members about having stipends at all. Stipends allow for people who are not highly represented within student government to serve in those roles, specifically low-income individuals. I can't speak to the other branches of student government, but I know that it's very difficult within the honor system to get individuals who are highly motivated, but also are like barely able to pay for college to partake in these positions because it is such a time commitment. Furthermore, the discussion of vital university function came up quite a bit. Again, it's not my job to be an expert on what the other branches of student government save the university in terms of money and how vital their positions are in terms of what the university function is. I am an expert on my branch, and I can tell you that we save the university about 3 to 4 salaried positions annually. If you want to estimate those positions at around $60,000 a year, we're saving the university upwards of $200,000 a year in salary. I don't think it's an incredible ask to ask for whatever it is, $25,000 in stipends. And again, I can understand the argument against stipends. I personally believe that they are a beneficial aspect of student government. Moving then to, I think there were concerns about the honor system still receiving the majority of the stipends. I think that there is still this like understanding that the honor court and the attorney general staff are like, are extremely connected in some way. And in many ways we work together, but we are 2 separate branches with many individuals in each branch. So I would appreciate if you guys think of it as 2 separate branches, which together are receiving, a little bit less than 25% of the funds, which seems more fair when you compare it to the other branches. Furthermore, I would also like to state that in this bill, about $7,000 are being taken away from honor system stipends, along with a significant amount in executive branch stipends, all of which is somewhat concerning to me. And then, so I will say with the specific bill and the way that we amended it on Sunday, I do think is an improvement. I appreciate the money that was given to the honor court and staff in the summer. I think that is an improvement. I do still have serious concerns about the positions of attorney general and honor court chair among many other positions involved in this bill, particularly because I think I estimated that among all the positions in the honor system, all of the positions that were under consideration were receiving $2 an hour or under in this like new updated version of the bill, with the attorney general being receiving a pay cut. I know hours are not the primary consideration, but I do think it is very difficult, again, for students who do not have the ability to have the luxury to work a job that does not pay them for the hours that they do. And I do think that is exceptionally concerning. But again, I recognize that the system is compromised, and I do appreciate that this bill was a compromise, and I do think it is a better version of this bill. I still do not believe it is a good bill, but again, I understand that the system is compromised, and if you guys do believe that it is the best version of that, then I can accept that. I'm not sure if this bill can still be amended at this very point. I had one point just because I don't think I was able to speak on exact amendments. I think there are many positions in here that could have appropriations be shifted. I think one point that I have noticed is the honor system is appropriated 5 deputy attorney generals or attorneys general in this bill. I don't think we need that many. I think 4 would be plenty. So I would be happy to remove $850 from the appropriations to the deputy student attorney generals and push that back into either the attorney general or to the chair or to, I know the Board of Elections gave up some money, or to the Director of State and External Affairs or the Chief of Cabinet. One of those positions, I believe, does deserve that money, and I believe it would go to waste if it was placed into the DSAG pool. That's a gesture of good faith. I hate this thing. I believe that is a beneficial change to the bill. I believe that there are other beneficial changes to the bill. I also believe that stipends should continue to be funded and should continue to see increases in funding so that students are paid perhaps more than $2 an hour in the future at some point. It's not my job to be an expert on what exactly all the different positions do and how much money they should be afforded. I do still very much believe that the honor system should be funded more than this bill is giving. Again, I imagine that everyone in this bill could afford to have more money, but I think especially the honor system I can speak to does deserve a lot more than they are receiving in this. But yeah, I think those are all my thoughts. If you have any questions, I would appreciate them.
We will now move to consideration of USR 105-142, a resolution to clarify administrative interpretation of the code. Will the sponsor, Chair Forbes, please take the floor?
Yeah, I'm gonna just kind of emphasize the importance of this bill. I am currently in the process of performing an for the Joint Governance Council regarding this. It's recognized as like a legitimately kind of serious issue. across different levels of student government. Like the fact of the matter is you can't just go against what the code says because you think you should go against what the code says. That's not how laws work. And they kind of did that for some stuff this election. And like Chair Forbes says, this is just kind of, making sure that everybody recognizes that, if you want a law changed, you have to go through the normal stuff for changing that law. You can't just decide to do it and, waive the consequences.
I just want to point out on the ONA meeting, just to give a different perspective, I believe it was Sarah who was talking to us. It's kind of a Sophie, sorry. I do have empathy for them. She kind of explained their position. I just want to give a different perspective. They have a total of 6 people on the committee, 3 undergrad, 3 graduate students, and their programming is very outdated. I believe she said it was over a decade old, and they realize a lot of the issues, and they just seem like an overwhelmed entity because this needs to be a kind of a top-down process to kind of help the Board of Elections fix all their issues. But I just wanted to let everyone know that what she was pointing out during our ONA meeting, they're trying their best and they have very limited people and resources. So I just kind of want to play devil's advocate, but I do believe that there's a lot of issues that need to be solved. And yeah, thank you.
Off of this, this isn't meant to be like a punitive action, right? We're not stripping them of funding or removing their powers. This is more just a kind of making sure that we have in writing somewhere where everybody can recognize, again, to make it easier so people know exactly what's supposed to be happening. This is this case scenario. It's not meant to attack the BOE or any of that. It's just meant to clarify the proceedings that are supposed to happen for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I normally wouldn't comment on legislation, but I have a few things I'd like to share. In my time at UNC, well, technically 8 elections, but I've been involved with 5. Exactly none of these elections has gone well. There have always been problems, not just in terms of candidates doing weird things and breaking rules, but continuous frustration with not run properly. And, there are problems. We will come back to order now. All right. Okay. Okay, I believe we are, oh wow,
Motion to adopt.
Yes, this was submitted to the ONA committee during winter break, I believe, a couple of days before the first session. It was debated in the ONA committee. ONA voted to postpone it. We have not had quorum since then, hence the motion to discharge. This is in my opinion, a fairly non-controversial resolution to encourage the Chancellor, Interim Chancellor Lee Roberts, along with the other people mentioned on this list, who are kind of involved with disability advocacy disability administration on campus, to make sure to include hidden disabilities in their disability planning. On a personal note, my mother is deaf and wears cochlear implants, and I see how a lot of academic situations she would not be able to thrive in if she was a student because of this disability. But this isn't something a bit more obvious like a wheelchair, and a lot of times hidden disabilities are kind of left out of the conversation. This is basically just encouraging the Chancellor to make sure to include them. I'll now take any questions.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adopt resolution by unanimous consent.
So while I understand, I really appreciate the way that this bill kind of addressed something that could be triggering, I just wanted to bring up a few concerns. So with food, 85% of Americans say that they don't really know what kind of food they're putting in their body from a nutritional standpoint. I know from the people that at least I'm surrounded by, and I understand that eating disorders are something that goes unnoticed. But a lot of the people that I talk to on a day-to-day basis love the fact that we have calories in the dining hall for a multitude of reasons. The biggest reason being that for a lot of people that are working out on active schedules or don't have time to necessarily just dine and dash, like head into the dining hall, get what they can and leave. Having access to the calorie counts is a really good way for them to plan their meal, to budget their calorie counts, as well as control as in a sense of like self-regulate what they're eating. According to a bunch of like polls and statistics, 52% of Americans said that they follow a specific eating pattern. And by not looking at nutritional values, 41% followed to say that they had a problem with consistency in their diets. And most of that was from our generation, so Gen Z. So just like looking at the statistics and also thinking about kind of why they're there in the first place. I really think that they're there for a purpose, not necessarily, and I know they can be a trigger, but more so though that the students of the university and those that are in the dining halls are able to make decisions that affect their nutrients and also keep a knowledge of, what am I eating? How might this affect me? Especially like people who are like into like weightlifting, bodybuilding. How can this affect my carb count? How is this going to affect this aspect of my meal, this aspect of my meal? It really helps with the meal planning and that I think a lot of us don't really have the luxury of necessarily taking the time out to scan a bunch of QR codes. And while I think it's a great alternative, I think further options would have to be evaluated before we can make a step as drastic as this one.
Yeah, so really don't like these things. Yeah, so first off, I just want to clear up some like misconceptions and actually show you like sort of explain some points that like might actually show why increase fitness like through the QR codes. So goodness, it's not like a bunch of different QR codes. It's one that leads to the full menu, just like the menu that we already have, but it also provides additional information because many studies have been done that show that like calories actually aren't great ways of like keeping track of your fitness. Like it makes sense because somebody could say, oh, I'm eating a calorie deficit by having one Snickers bar a day, right? Like that's clearly not healthy. That's not enough food. You're not getting the nutrients you need. So this shows like macronutrients and different specific like information that people might need if they're trying to like bodybuild, like you were talking about. And additionally, I would just like to point out the fact that like you can't unsee what you've already seen. When you see that calorie count, that's sort of like sparks something in your head of like whether or not you're eating healthy and whether or not you're eating under your calorie deficit. And so I think that since calories are altogether just kind of like inaccurate measures, they should be something that students have the opportunity to sort of like opt into rather than opt out of. I was a ballet dancer for 11 years and was so familiar with just like that dieting culture. So I understand the profound impact it can have, especially on younger students, which many students at Chapel Hill are. So yeah, that is why I'll be
it's not like the information has gone absolutely anywhere. If you pick up your phone and go to the Dining Hall UNC website, and if you want to follow along with me, please do. You go to the Dining Hall website, you hit menu, and then you hit the location that you are going to or the dining hall, and there's the full menu without the QR codes, which include all the calorie information you needed, which might be even easier than trying to look up on those tiny menu screens when you're trying to move back and forth. So a little bit of design to help people with eating disorders goes a lot longer way to click maybe 3 times on a singular website. And, you know, it's not going to hurt any of us to be a little bit more conscious of the people around us. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I move the previous question.
Second.
RNJ has not had any legislation referred to it as of yet, so RNJ chair has no report.
I am kind of code mandated to give one. Quick attendance notifications. Senator Nguyen, Senator Manna, and Senator Aurora has appealed. You guys have had your voting privileges revoked. If you want to talk to me about this and figure out how to restore those privileges, please shoot me an email. Senator Jessup, this is your official warning.
Yes, I do, and I have a lot because we didn't meet for quorum last time, so I have 2 meetings to update y'all on. The JDC has met twice since we last met. February 7th, we had a meeting. There was an upcoming, we talked a lot, but there's an upcoming Board of Elections hearing concerning possible new election laws. Chair Baruch previously talked about it, but in our February 21st meeting, we have now figured out the next date for the hearing to be had, and that will be this next week on Wednesday. Basically, come to me if you have any questions or concerns about the Board of Elections, please. Now, February 7th, we also voted on a governance or a graduate student menstrual product response. This passed unanimously. It basically just allows, asked university administrators to have some, provide more menstrual products across campus. Then we confirmed Eli North to the Board of Elections. Finally, we voted down a graduate student bill calling for election days to be taken off. It was 2 to 1 to 2. I can explain my vote. I voted no because I would rather have wellness days than taking 2 days off for elections. I think wellness days are much more better served for this university. Now for February 21st, we, like I said before, I was alerted that we were going to have a new upcoming meeting with the Board of Elections, just having a discussion with them and figuring out what we can do this next time. This once again will be next week on Wednesday. Then we will also have Chancellor Roberts speak on March 5th at about 5:30 next Wednesday. Please join us if you want to hear Chancellor Roberts speak. Finally, the Carolina Women's Center will meet with the Joint Governance Council on March 20th. This will also be our last meeting, and they're just talking about the menstrual products and further discussion about that. That is all I have. Do I have any questions?
Are there any questions?
Yes, I bring you greetings from our student body president. I'll just read a quick message that he sent me. Hi all, please forgive me for being unable to attend the Senate meeting today, but I hope you all are doing well. He really hopes you all are doing well. I don't have many updates today, but my office is still working on our 2 remaining events for the year. That is the Distinguished Lectureship and then the Pickleball Tournament. A pretty cool surprise guest, but that'll be announced later. I'm also working on effectively transitioning student body president-elect Taylor, and those meetings have been going well too. Still no movement on the Chancellor Search Committee, but I'm looking forward to serving in the best to effectively represent our students. If you have any questions, please email me at sbp, all caps on that, at unc.edu. Again, that is sbp, all caps on that, at unc.edu. Thanks.
Hi, guys. Sorry we've been here for a little bit. It's been a crazy month and I guess 2 months now, but excited to see all of you. I have some updates for everybody. The first is that the Sunny Evans Award Committee met, and that application and nomination form is now open. I have shared it with Speaker Gary, and I'm happy to share it with you. This award was named after the first Jewish student body president and is given to one graduating senior on behalf of undergraduate student government. What? Oh, multiple? Oh, everything's changed. It could go to multiple graduating seniors. So if you know any seniors who you want to recognize for their outstanding service in undergraduate student government or in any other organization, please submit a nomination for them by March 4th at 11:59 p.m. Earlier today, the Student Advisory Committee to the Chancellor met. This is our second meeting with Interim Chancellor Roberts. We met with Vice Chancellor of Finance and Operations, Nate Knuffman, who came in and gave a report for the new budget allocation model. If you guys have any questions about that, I'm happy to share a report with you all. It's pretty interesting stuff, I think. Yeah, so I'd be happy to discuss any of that in more detail. We also discussed the Board of Governors meeting that is going to begin tomorrow, and they're likely to, they are going to consider the standardized testing policy for the university system. It is the expectation that the BOG will likely adopt a policy that students applying to any of the 17 schools in the system with a GPA above 2.8, a high school GPA above 2.8, won't need to submit test scores, and this likely won't have an impact on UNC because we largely don't admit students with GPAs, high school GPAs under 2.8. That's not confirmed yet, but will likely be confirmed following the Board of Governors meeting this week. An offer to the new dean of the School of Civic Life and Leadership has been extended and accepted. So look out for an official name in the next few days, which will be exciting. A member from my team met with the Triple I oversight group. Dr. Megan Plenge heads that up. For those of you who have taken Triple I courses, they are considering standardizing syllabi across all courses and changing the Triple I format to allow for 2 professors rather than 3 to teach those courses. So hoping that's a move in a good direction. Not sure how people are feeling about the Triple I's this year. Would love to get thoughts if anybody is currently in a Triple I course. I know I talked about the waitlist a ton last semester, but did want to share that data collection is already being used to shape the way that courses will be offered next semester. So particularly when it comes to exercise and sports science courses, economics courses, and stats courses, they've been able to use the data from the new waitlist system to gauge need and offer more sections of in-demand classes. And then the last 2 things, the provost is developing guidelines for standardizing classroom usage. So I don't know if y'all have experienced this, where you might have an hour and 15-minute long course on Monday, Wednesday, instead of on Tuesday, Thursday. The provost office is putting together some guidance to help departments avoid doing that because our classroom utilization rates are currently around like 30 to 40%, which means we're not using our classrooms well at all, which makes scheduling impossible for faculty, for departments, and also for students who are trying to build their schedules. So I'm excited to see that will change, even if it might mean a few more classes on Friday. And then this is more so on a personal is this working still? Yeah. In late January, you guys might have seen this, but the Board of Governors passed a proposal requiring all system universities to teach students, quote unquote, civic literacy to address civic illiteracy within the system. When it comes to sort of like the nitty gritty of it, it would include students needing to learn about 8 founding documents in credit earning settings. So they would need to learn about these documents in courses, essentially. And I think like you can debate the merits of this as a concept, but I would just urge all of you as people who are engaged in student government to continue monitoring the efforts and the actions of the Board of Governors and the Board of Trustees when it comes to telling our faculty how and what they necessarily need to teach. Because I think that is something that should matter to us as students on this campus and as people who interface with these faculty all the time, who are doing their best to educate us as they seem fit. So we just encourage you all to continue to stay up to date on all of those things. But yeah, that's it. Transition stuff. I'm working on my transition guides and we'll get them to Chief of Staff Williams by tomorrow because I think that's our deadline. But beyond that, looking forward to, I think, 2 or 3 more meetings with you all and finishing out the year and the term strong. Happy to take any questions.
Good evening to you all good people. I just have 2 main updates to talk about. The first one, transition guides. It's transition season for the exec branch. And so I've been leading that charge. The deadline for the first submissions for our group is Thursday. So all cabinet co-directors, executive branch officer members, office members, holders, whatever, will be submitting something that will be reviewed by myself and my two deputies, so that we can send back any edits and ask for any sort of elaboration or whatnot that's needed, so that we can create a final document by the 28th that will be ready to be delivered to the president-elect Julia Taylor. In addition to that, for cabinet updates, we have a lot that's going on. We have a career fair in partnership with University Career Services this Thursday as well. Coming up later on, we have an AI town hall being led by Academic Affairs and Professional Development. We also have, we had a headshot event that went well today, even with the rain. So support students will be able to get some free headshot pictures out soon enough. In addition to that, there was one other thing I had to say, but I forgot. So I yield my time back.
Hello, hello. I'm so sorry. I know sucks because we've all been here for so long, but I do have quite a bit to say. I was sick on the 14th. Just a quick update. Me as well as my office, we went to Washington, D.C. With our fellow ACC schools, February 4th through 6th, where we met obviously with our fellow ACC schools, as well as with Representative Hudson, Representative Fushi, and somebody else that's literally, my mind is fleeting. However, we discussed the importance of federal research funding. As you all know, UNC is in the top 10, as well as there's currently in the federal government, there's a debate going on between the Senate and the House of Representatives, obviously like budgeting. And at the time, it was this conversation about how much the federal Pell Grant should be. Our ask was that it remain at this, the Senate had the $200 higher federal Pell Grant. So that was our ask, was that they do that, as well as pushing or like requesting that the congressman really, take a interest in mental health and mental health advocacy. So those were kind of the three things that we were talking about. Would love to discuss more. I do want to say Valerie Fushi's office is always willing to talk to us because they love us. And Elizabeth Adkins is the legislative aide who used to be the student body president. So anyways, moving on with that, I'm meeting with the alcohol policy task force people. We're meeting tomorrow. According to Aaron Bockenheimer, we're pulling together our group just to review a few policy items. There's been a request for a facility alcohol service. So I'll keep you all updated on that. Raleigh advocacy days, which includes UNC system schools, which is supposed to be like the ASG. The issue with that is the information that I had been receiving, I didn't get an email from the main person, but when I talked to Amy McConkey, our state affairs person, the issue with us, so when you go to advocate in capital areas and stuff, in the legislative buildings, we use our federal affairs office in order to schedule meetings, and we work in partnership with them. The issue is when I spoke with Amy Wednesday, they only have one committee meeting in Raleigh, and there's not really going to be many legislators there. So our hope is to go with SPAG, the science policy people, either on March 12th or go another time this month. I'll be meeting with her on Monday, and I'll know that, and I'll keep you all updated on that. If somebody from leadership would like to join, please let me know, and then I can keep you in the loop as well. Moving forward, also SPAG, the science policy people, I guess, their hope is to invite our local legislators, I can't remember their names right now off the top of my head, our state legislators, to speak with them about science policy, and our hope is to have them stay. Amy was telling me that our hope is to have them stay, so that way we can also discuss with them as student leaders. Again, I'll be keeping Andrew in the loop on that, so he can keep you all in the loop. As far as other things, so I have met with me as well as my deputy, mostly, we've been going to our CCC strategic planning meetings. We have another one coming up on Thursday, 9 a.m., but they feed us really great food. But so far we have been working to just work with them on strategies that obviously they, as well as other members of the community, have put out. we as a group have not, I was sick, so I've not sent them our strategies from the student government. So if you would like to participate in that in any way, and talk about to mitigate the risks of like alcohol abuse, please reach out to me. And then as far as, the Chapel Hill Downtown Partnership, again, and Andrew's very well updated on this as well, but again, to just keep you updated on that, we're still working with them to try to see like if they want a student representative, they're not going to amend their bylaws. But again, I'll keep you updated on that. And I've just been in conversation with Jerry Schulke. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I'm not sure, but anyways, and then my transition guidelines, of course, will be in soon. So thank you. Wait. What's Andrew Gary's favorite SpongeBob character? It's Gary.
Good evening to my friends in the Senate. Here for my monthly appearance, these hearings. So a few updates for you. First of all, in the past month, we have lost a couple of members who have resigned. Some of them citing reasons such as not being able to keep up the level of commitment, giving financial burdens and change of circumstances. But luckily we have new members. 10 of the 35 members that we recruited in the fall have started sitting cases, which is excellent. A lot more on the way. And then thirdly, an update on transitions. I have opened up applications for vice chairs for the rest of the semester and next year, and for the new chair for the 2024-2025 academic year. And so those applications are due March 17th. Yeah, March 17th, 11:59 p.m. And yeah, that's all for me. None. Mr. Speaker, I move to dispense with all papers addressed to the Senate.